What if the reason abundance feels far away is not because you are unlucky, but because your energy before sleep is silently shaping the direction of your life? Tonight, before you close your eyes, there is something important you need to understand. The final thoughts you carry into sleep do not simply disappear into the darkness. They echo. They settle deep into the subconscious mind. And according to ancient spiritual teachings, the subconscious becomes most receptive in the quiet moments before sleep. Most people fall asleep stressed, worried about money, replaying failures, thinking about unpaid bills, missed opportunities, disappointments, and fears they never say out loud. Night after night, they unknowingly feed anxiety into the deepest layers of their mind. Then they wake up wondering why life still feels heavy. But what if tonight could be different? What if tonight you activated a hidden wealth energy that has been waiting inside you all along? Not through force, not through greed, not through chasing endlessly, but through stillness, awareness, intention, and energy. Because long before modern self-help books existed, ancient monks believed the energy surrounding your mind before sleep could influence the way you experience life itself. They taught that peace attracts clarity. Clarity attracts wise action. Wise action creates opportunity, and opportunity opens the door to abundance. So tonight, do not treat sleep like an ending. Treat it like a sacred doorway. And if you are ready to shift your energy before sleep, comment below, "I welcome abundance peacefully." That simple sentence matters more than you think. There is a reason nighttime feels emotional for so many people. During the day, distractions protect us. Noise keeps the mind busy. Conversations, phones, responsibilities, work, errands, they create movement. But at night, everything becomes quieter. And in that silence, hidden emotions rise to the surface. Maybe you know this feeling. You lie in bed exhausted, yet your mind refuses to rest. Thoughts race endlessly. What if nothing changes? What if money remains difficult? What if life stays this stressful forever? The body becomes still, but the mind keeps fighting invisible battles. Ancient Buddhist teachings often describe suffering as attachment to fear and resistance. Not because fear makes someone weak, but because fear consumes energy. And when energy becomes consumed by worry, there is little space left for creativity, intuition, gratitude, or possibility. Think about that carefully. How much energy have you spent preparing for negative outcomes that never happened? How many nights have been lost to fear? The tragedy is not just exhaustion. The tragedy is that many people unknowingly train their minds to expect limitation, night after night, year after year. And eventually, the mind begins searching for proof that struggle is permanent. But tonight, something changes. Tonight, you become aware. Awareness is powerful. Awareness interrupts patterns. Awareness creates new possibilities. Because the moment you recognize that your nighttime energy matters, you regain influence over your inner world. And that is where transformation begins. In ancient monasteries, monks often treated the final moments before sleep with deep respect. Not because they believed sleep itself created miracles, but because they understood that the mind becomes highly impressionable in states of relaxation and stillness. Imagine a calm lake at night. When the water is disturbed, reflections become distorted. But when the lake becomes still, the moon appears clearly. Your mind works the same way. A restless mind reflects fear. A peaceful mind reflects wisdom. Many spiritual traditions believed nighttime was a sacred bridge between the conscious and subconscious mind, a transition point where thoughts settle deeply into the inner self. This is why monks practiced silence before sleep. This is why they avoided carrying anger into the night. This is why they repeated peaceful affirmations, prayers, or intentions before closing their eyes. They understood something modern life often forgets. Energy repeated consistently becomes identity, and identity shapes behavior. behavior shapes reality. Tonight, ask yourself honestly, what energy have you been feeding before sleep? Stress, scarcity, hopelessness, or possibility? Because abundance is not only about money. True abundance begins with inner alignment, a calm nervous system, a clear mind, a heart no longer controlled by panic. When inner chaos slows down, something remarkable happens. You begin making clearer decisions. You notice opportunities you once ignored. You stop operating from desperation, and slowly, life starts responding differently. Not magically, but meaningfully. Many people chase wealth while secretly believing they are unworthy of peace. Think about that contradiction. How can someone attract stability while emotionally expecting struggle? How can someone build abundance while constantly feeling fear? This is why ancient wisdom always focused first on inner energy, because the external world often mirrors internal patterns. A person who constantly says nothing ever works for me begins approaching life with hesitation and doubt. A person who believes they are trapped often stops seeing opportunities entirely. But someone who slowly cultivates calm confidence begins moving differently, speaking differently, choosing differently. And over time, different choices create different outcomes. This does not mean pretending problems do not exist. It means refusing to let fear become your permanent identity. Tonight's ritual is not about denying reality. It is about changing the emotional atmosphere surrounding your mind before sleep. Because energy matters. Your thoughts matter. Your emotional state matters. And what you repeatedly feel in silence becomes deeply rooted within you. So before sleeping tonight, ask yourself a simple question. What kind of energy do I want to carry into tomorrow? Now let us talk about the ritual itself. Simple, quiet, grounding. Nothing complicated, nothing extreme. You will need only 3 things tonight. A small object that symbolizes peace or abundance to you, a glass of water, and 10 uninterrupted minutes before sleep. The object can be anything meaningful. A coin, a candle, a small crystal, a written affirmation, even a simple leaf from nature. The object itself is not magical. Its purpose is symbolic. It becomes a physical reminder of intentional energy. Place it near your bed. Now dim the lights, silence distractions. Sit comfortably and breathe slowly. Not rushed breathing, not forced breathing. Slow, calm, intentional breaths. As you breathe, imagine releasing the emotional heaviness of the day. Imagine stress leaving your body with every exhale. Then place your attention on the object beside you, not worshiping it, not expecting miracles from it, simply allowing it to represent peaceful abundance. Then quietly say, I release fear. I welcome clarity. I welcome peaceful abundance into my life. Repeat it slowly. Feel the words. Do not rush through them. Because repetition without emotion changes little. But repetition with awareness begins reshaping the inner world. Now close your eyes. Imagine yourself waking tomorrow with a lighter mind. Imagine opening your eyes without immediate fear. Imagine feeling calm while handling responsibilities. Imagine yourself becoming wiser with money, more disciplined, more focused, more emotionally stable. Visualize opportunities entering your life naturally through clarity, confidence, and aligned action. Do not imagine piles of money falling from the sky. Imagine becoming the kind of person who creates stability through peace and wisdom. See yourself smiling more, breathing easier, sleeping deeply, making better decisions, helping others, living without constant panic. This matters because the subconscious mind responds strongly to emotional imagery. When visualization becomes emotionally believable, the nervous system begins adapting to those emotional patterns. And over time, people start behaving in ways aligned with those inner images. This is why visualization is powerful. Not because imagination replaces action, but because imagination influences identity, and identity shapes daily behavior. The person who constantly visualizes failure behaves differently than the person who visualizes possibility. So tonight, visualize peace, visualize abundance, visualize a future not controlled by fear. There is another practice monks consider deeply transformative before sleep. Gratitude, not forced gratitude, not pretending life is perfect, but consciously noticing what still remains good. This changes the emotional frequency of the mind, because fear constantly focuses attention on what is missing. Gratitude gently reminds the mind what still exists. Maybe today was difficult, but perhaps there was still food to eat, a breath to breathe, a moment of silence, a lesson learned, a person who cares about you, a chance to try again tomorrow. When gratitude becomes a nightly practice, scarcity loses some of its emotional control, and slowly the nervous system begins shifting from survival mode toward emotional balance. Tonight before sleep, quietly name 3 things you are grateful for. Even small things matter, especially small things, because abundance often begins with noticing what was already present. Have you ever noticed how your mood before sleep often affects your next morning? This is not coincidence. The emotional tone carried into sleep influences mental recovery, stress levels, and subconscious processing. If someone falls asleep overwhelmed every night, the body rarely experiences true rest. But when someone enters sleep with calm intention, emotional tension softens. Ancient spiritual teachings understood this intuitively. Modern psychology increasingly understands it scientifically. The brain continues processing emotional patterns during sleep. So the question becomes, what emotional message are you repeatedly giving yourself before rest? I am trapped? I will never succeed? Life is hopeless? Or I am learning? I am growing. I am becoming calmer and wiser. These thoughts matter. Words repeated consistently become beliefs. Beliefs influence perception. Perception influences behavior, and behavior shapes outcomes. This is why tonight matters, not because one night changes everything instantly, but because small nightly shifts, repeated consistently, can slowly reshape an entire mindset. There is an old story about a monk who owned almost nothing except a bowl for food and water. A wealthy traveler once asked him, "How can you feel peaceful when you have so little?" The monk smiled gently and replied, "Because I stopped measuring wealth only by what I hold in my hands." The traveler laughed at first, but later that night he could not sleep. Despite his riches, his mind was restless, fearful, exhausted. Meanwhile, the monk slept peacefully under the stars. And suddenly the traveler understood something profound. Possession without peace is still poverty. This does not mean money is bad. Money can create safety, opportunity, and support. But without inner balance, even abundance feels unstable. Tonight's ritual is not about rejecting wealth. It is about building a healthier relationship with energy, fear, and self-worth. Because when peace and wisdom guide your actions, abundance becomes easier to sustain. Scarcity energy is not simply lacking money. Scarcity energy is constantly feeling unsafe even when possibilities exist. It is the belief that there is never enough time, never enough success, never enough opportunity. And when people operate from scarcity, they often make fearful decisions. Impulsive spending, desperate choices, self-sabotage, constant comparison. Tonight, you will release some of that energy. Not all at once, but enough to breathe differently. Close your eyes again for a moment. Imagine carrying a heavy bag filled with fear, stress, and financial anxiety. Feel the exhaustion of carrying it endlessly. Now imagine setting that bag down beside you. You do not need to carry every fear into sleep. You do not need to solve your entire life tonight. You only need to create enough inner stillness for wisdom to return. And wisdom grows in quiet minds. Your room carries energy, not mystical magic in the dramatic sense, but emotional association. A cluttered environment often creates mental overstimulation. A peaceful environment encourages calmness. This is why many spiritual practices emphasize creating intentional spaces. Tonight, look around your room. Is it filled with tension, noise, chaos, or peace? Even small changes matter. A cleaner bedside table, softer lighting, fresh air, a calming scent, a meaningful object placed intentionally near your bed. These things subtly influence emotional state. And emotional state influences sleep quality, thought patterns, and behavior. Before sleeping tonight, create even a small corner of peace. Your mind deserves that. Transformation rarely happens through one dramatic moment. It happens through repeated energy, repeated thoughts, repeated actions, repeated beliefs. This is why nightly rituals matter. Because repetition teaches the subconscious what to prioritize. If every night ends with panic, the nervous system learns panic. If every night ends with calm reflection, gratitude, and intentional thought, the mind slowly learns safety. And safety creates clarity. Tonight's ritual becomes more powerful through consistency. 7 nights, 14 nights, 30 nights. Not because of superstition, but because repetition rewires emotional habits. The brain adapts to repeated patterns. The nervous system adapts to repeated emotional states. And slowly, the person who once felt trapped begins feeling more centered, more hopeful, more empowered. Now repeat these words quietly, not mechanically. Feel them. I release fear from my mind. I welcome peaceful abundance. I trust myself to grow wiser each day. I deserve rest without anxiety. I allow calm energy into my life. I am learning to think differently. I am open to new opportunities. I do not need to fear the future. My energy matters. My peace matters. My life can improve step by step. Take a deep breath after each sentence. Let the words settle within you. And if these affirmations resonate with you, comment below. Peace attracts abundance. That single sentence may encourage someone else who desperately needs hope tonight. Some people dismiss practices like this because they misunderstand the purpose. This ritual is not about magical thinking. It is about emotional conditioning. When someone repeatedly enters sleep believing life is hopeless, their energy, decisions, posture, confidence, and perception reflect that belief. But when someone slowly develops inner calm and possibility, behavior changes naturally. They communicate better. They think more clearly. They stop reacting impulsively. They notice opportunities. They become more patient, more disciplined, more emotionally resilient. This is how inner energy begins influencing outer reality. Quietly, gradually, powerfully. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, resist the urge to immediately grab your phone and absorb stress. Pause for one moment. Take one slow breath. Remember the energy you carried into sleep. Then ask yourself, how can I move through today with greater peace and wisdom? This question matters. Because abundance is not built only through nighttime rituals. It is built through daily alignment, mindful choices, intentional actions, emotional awareness, financial discipline, kindness toward yourself, and patience during growth. Nighttime intention becomes powerful when daytime behavior supports it. There is another truth ancient teachings often emphasized. Generosity changes energy. Not reckless giving, not self-sacrifice that harms you, but sincere generosity. A kind word, a helpful action, supporting someone when possible. Because people who constantly operate from fear tend to close themselves emotionally. But generosity reminds the mind that abundance can flow rather than remain trapped. And strangely generous people often experience greater emotional richness. Not because the universe magically rewards every action instantly, but because generosity changes identity. It reminds you that you are not powerless, that you still have something valuable to offer. And that realization alone can shift emotional energy profoundly. Many people watching this secretly feel they are too late, too old, too broken, too financially stuck, too exhausted. But life is not a race with one timeline. Some people bloom later. Some people rebuild after failure. Some people discover inner peace only after years of struggle. And that does not make their journey less meaningful. Tonight, release the belief that your story is finished. It is not finished. As long as you can breathe, you can shift direction. As long as you can become aware, you can create change. Small changes repeated consistently become powerful over time. Never underestimate that. If this message spoke to you tonight, share your experience in the comments below. I truly want to know how you feel after this ritual. And before you sleep tonight, comment, "I welcome peaceful abundance." Sometimes, a simple declaration becomes the beginning of a new mindset. If you enjoyed this journey together, subscribe and join this growing community of mindful souls seeking peace, clarity, abundance, and inner transformation. Until next time, protect your energy, guard your peace, and remember the way you end your night quietly shapes the way you experience your tomorrow.